You don't have to live a certain way. You just are. It doesn't matter how much money you make, what car you drive, how many followers you have. You just are. It doesn't mean anything about you. None of those things mean anything about you. Hey guys, what's up? What's going on? My name is Sabrina and welcome back to my channel where we talk about everything positive mindset, personal development, and just creating a version of yourself in a life that you love. And in today's video, I really want to share a story time of the spiritual lessons I learned on our past trip in Asheville that has really been adding so much more fulfillment and magic into my life. And I really want to share it with you guys. So if you like what you hear today, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up to help out the channel. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. And without further ado, let's get into it. So a few friends and I decided to go over and rent a cabin Airbnb right outside of Asheville to have a very low-key, slow, out in the mountains weekend for my friend Nat's birthday. And just to set the vibe for you, I had driven 6.5 hours to get there. I got there really late at night, went to go drop off the groceries and my things before I went to go pick up our friends from the airport. And we had planned to sage the cabin Airbnb because when you get somewhere new and the energy in the air is just kind of stale, you can feel other people's energies, other people's arguments that they may have had in that same room. You can just feel the stale energy. We were planning on saging it, but when I had walked into that Airbnb, it literally felt so magical and so homey and so loving, and just the energy there was so pure. And when I went to go pick them up from the airport, I told them, I was like, we are not even gonna have to sage this place. I mean, you can feel it when you walk in the door. And then when they got there too, they also agreed, it just felt so magical there. That is truly the only word I can use to describe it. So anyway, we're in this magical cabin Airbnb out in the mountains just to enjoy our weekend for Nat's birthday. And she wanted to have really slow mornings just to sit back and relax and to hang out. And so that's what we did. The next morning we woke up, there was a balcony on the second story and it was just facing the woods, and you could hear owls hooting, and you can see the hawks flying over over the trees, and the weather was so perfect. It was high 60s. We're just out there meditating for however long, at least 30 minutes. And the energy there was seriously so potent. I was able to get directly into my meditation. I was really just listening to the messages I was getting and to my intuitive nudges, and I felt pulled to start writing. So I ran inside, grabbed my journal, came back out, and I wrote this entire channeled message to my future self. And I won't get super detailed into that note because it is kind of personal, but it basically was just confirming of what my purpose is to do in this lifetime, and confirming me to listen to my intuition, and confirming that I'm extremely protected and watched over. And that really stuck with me. And then I also started to have worries and fears come up of and this is one of my biggest fears and worries, is that I'm not going to live up to my potential. I can see a lot of the potential that I can carry, and I understand that we have unlimited potential, right? But this is one of my biggest fears, is that I'm going to end up falling short to that. And so I was writing down in my journal, and I'm reading it right now. I'm not going to read word for word what I was saying, but this is some of the lessons that I was learning that I want to share because I know that it will help some of you guys out there too. But I was asking myself, how will I know I'm doing all that I can? How can I live in my most authentic, expressionable, powerful self? How can I make the biggest impact in the world? The response that I immediately got back was, it's not from doing the most work. It's from those times of reflection, meditation, reading, friends, being. You don't have to exhaust yourself or work 24/7 or constantly be posting content in order to live in your purpose and have the biggest impact. It was saying to follow your intuition and take the next steps provided. You will always be, and this is another confirmation that I was getting, you will always be looked over, protected, and provided for. Have no worries. And then it went on to other things that are kind of personal, but it was also saying enjoy the little things, speak when you want to, and enjoy the life that we have created for yourself so far. Which really was just getting me thinking, before then I was so in my head of I need to do this, I need to get this project done, I need to post on YouTube, I need to make Instagram posts, I need to putting all this stuff out there, I need to, because I was so terrified of not living up to my potential. But what was just confirmed to me was you are living your purpose just by being, just by living, just by existing, just by living life, literally just reading, meditating, spending time with friends. You are living your purpose just doing that. You don't have to exhaust yourself. You don't have to work 24/7. You don't have to be constantly on to the next thing and on to the next thing. Like, that is not what life is about. I'm just realizing that nothing has meaning in life. And it's like, I've heard these concepts before. I understood these concepts before, but I didn't understand it to the depths that I was understanding it to that point. That truly, absolutely nothing has meaning. When you wake up late, it doesn't mean that you're lazy. If you get X amount of likes on your post, it doesn't mean that you're like less loved. You just woke up at this time. You just got X amount of likes. It doesn't matter how many friends you have, where you live, where you work. It doesn't mean that you're like less cool than other people who have more friends. It doesn't mean that you're either successful or unsuccessful because of a specific job you work at. Like, nothing truly has meaning. Everything just is. But if we decide to give meaning to something, we then kind of like twist the perception of that thing to mold the meaning. So then that thing becomes the meaning, if that makes sense. If we tell ourselves that we are lazy because we wake up late or later than we had planned to, then it will become that. If we tell ourselves because we work at this job, it means we're unsuccessful, then it will become that. We live by the meanings we give things. But when you can just accept everything as it is, you live in a so much more real experience, potent experience. You live outside of the ego. The ego is what likes to put labels onto everything. And when we can start to strip away these labels, we start to become more true to our authentic selves. And so often we are so in our heads with these labels, with the meanings, with just the overall thinking, right? And thinking isn't wrong. We obviously are going to continue to think and have thoughts, but it's the continuous thinking and continuous being so in our heads that really hinders us and pulls us back in life and takes us out of the present moment. And the more we can be in the present moment and just let ourselves exist without all of these meanings, without all of these labels, our energy becomes so much more potent. When we drop out of our heads and get into our bodies, we become like an extremely strong magnet to our desires. Like, instead of our energy, think of it this way. Instead of our energy being scattered around by our thoughts about the past and thinking about past things that happened, thinking about potential futures, thinking about the things we have to do, thinking about, oh, this person is this way, and judgments and worries and anxieties and fears, instead of all of our energy being extracted out into all of these different things, when you are in the present moment, your energy is no longer scattered. It is all here. It is all now. Is that making sense? Instead of your energy all being everywhere and you manifesting all these random things into your life and your life isn't really going in any kind of like strong direction, when you can get in the present moment, get in the now, you then become an extremely strong magnet and your energy becomes extremely potent. You can feel it, and it's the presence. It's the ultimate sheer presence. Out of your head, into your body. Just be. Just exist. This is a note that I put in my journal. Instead of constantly being in my head thinking of like, okay, I used to wake up thinking I need to do this, and then I've got to do this, and then I need to get these done, and then I want to make sure that I eat my macros for the day so I stay on my weight goal, and then I want to head to the gym, and then I want to make sure I get to bed at a certain time, and I want to make sure I read at least one chapter of this book. And I was very in my head. Even when I was in that moment doing something, I was still very much so in my thinking brain. I wasn't much so just being, just doing. And that's not wrong to be in your head, but it would be more beneficial to think less and to be more. Again, out of your head, into your body. And this also just linked to the milestones that I have been wanting to hit with my income milestones, with my subscriber and like follower milestones. Like, the milestones have no meaning, really. It's like life is truly about the experience. And again, this is stuff that I logically knew, but it's like I understood it on a much more deeper level. And this is something that I feel more people need to hear. So this is why I'm sharing it. But it's not about hitting the milestone. It's about the enjoyment, like in just your everyday life, your laughter, your movement, how you feel, the connection with others, doing things that excite you. Like, how do you feel in your day-to-day life? Are you actually present? Are you actually living? Or are you just analytically thinking throughout every single day and just letting your days like pass you by. I started to get so in my head listening to other business owners and entrepreneurs about how I should be running my business and how I should be doing this and how I should be creating content, instead of actually creating content that I enjoyed, creating content that inspired me, creating content that I loved to share, that was fun to share, creating content just out of the pure expression of myself, rather than attaching to all these meanings of things. And it was also like all of the judgments of that other people may have of me, it was like all of them disappeared. Not to say that I think that all judgments of others have disappeared, but it's like they had no meaning. People judging me, it has no meaning. It literally just is. If people have a judgmental thought towards me, it doesn't mean anything. It just is. It doesn't mean that you're less than. It doesn't mean that you're actually weird. I heard somebody like calling this other person weird the other day, and I was just thinking in my head, like, what does weird mean to you? Just different than you? And this person lived like a very specific type of way. And so that person that had called other people weird may also be weird in other people's lives. And so I'm like, what is weird? What even is weird? Like, weird is nothing. Like, judgments just are. Judgments don't mean anything. And so it also just gave me so much more freedom to express myself on another level, because I used to live in so much fear of what other people thought of me. I can't share this because what if people think like I'm crazy or like too woo-woo, like too off the end? What if people think I'm weird? But having that realization, I'm like, you know what? That truly doesn't mean anything. It just is. People just have these thoughts and they just are. And there they go. They just are. Like, here I am. I just am. It doesn't mean anything about me. Any of the worries or anxieties that I had, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything about me. It doesn't mean anything about my future. It just is. And when you can just observe them, they go away. It's like a cloud that just like floats away. And you're like, oh, there it is. There it goes. Bye. And just the fact of like, nothing has to be a certain way. You don't have to live a certain way. You just are. It doesn't matter how much money you make, what car you drive, how many followers you have. You just are. It doesn't mean anything about you. None of those things mean anything about you. It's truly about your experience in your life, your beingness, the total excitement of just being alive, feeling, touching, tasting, experiencing. It's all here now. You have everything right now. You can be rich in experiences right now in this moment. Just allowing yourself to be, just allowing yourself to exist, stripping away the meanings from things. Stop thinking, oh, I'm so depressed, I have no life. What are you making it mean to you that you have no life? Because you may have less friends than some other people you may know? What meaning does that have, right? Some people who have the most amount of friends have the least amount of connection with them. Some people who have the most amount of friends, they all like talk badly about each other. So what does that even mean? It has no meaning, but the meaning you give it. So what meaning are you giving things? And let's just stop giving meanings to things to begin with. If we just start accepting everything as it is, we strip away so much suffering from ourselves. So being rich in experiences now, allowing yourself to be literally just living, existing. This is life. This is what life is meant to be. To be in the present moment, to experience what is going on now. To be fully enveloped in all of your senses and what is going on in the present moment. What are you doing right now listening to this? Fully like be here now. When you eat, stop like watching TV and watching the news or doing whatever, being so distracted. Be in the present moment. Taste everything hitting your taste buds. Identify all the different things that you're tasting, that you're experiencing. When you spend time out in nature, also please do spend more time out in nature. Just listen to the birds around you, to the wind going through the trees. Just exist, just be in the present moment and feel how good that feels to just experience, to just be, to just live. Again, out of your head, into your body. And I know this may not be practical in like every sense, like we are human beings, we do need to like stay on a certain schedule for the way that we live our lives. So like you can be in your head and like plan your days, sure, schedule out like when you're going to work, when you're going to do XYZ, but it would be really beneficial for you to also like schedule in time to practice just being in that present moment, and just in everything that you do, really practice on just enveloping all of your 5 senses into what you are doing right now. I'm telling you guys, it will be a totally different experience. You will feel alive. You will feel your energy magnetize. And this is really what I was learning on this trip, sitting on that rock right outside of Asheville, North Carolina. And what was funny was the other girls on the trip were learning the same exact lessons in their experiences. So although we weren't talking to each other about the exact experiences we were having, when we did end up talking to each other, we realized that we were having the same experiences. It was like the energy there was so potent, was so magical. I feel like I was also just tapping into so much of what I truly was craving as a soul, what my soul is craving to experience in this life. And it truly is so much of just, I'm craving to express myself just as I am. I used to constantly filter myself down, water myself down out of fear, out of worries of what other people think of me. But a lesson I'm really being taught is that I will be happiest living in my fullest expression of myself. And yeah, that may trigger some people, and some people may not like that about me. And that's cool, because their judgments don't mean anything. And I was also feeling pulled to explore more of like my, what they call like the huntress side of you. So there's like all of these different female archetypes that you can embody. For me, I really resonate with like the huntress, which is very like Katniss Everdeen, Wonder Woman, Lara Croft type vibe. That's what my energy really craves to embody right now, at least in this phase of my life. And I realized that also I've been like trying to force myself to do yoga and to do all these like super slow paced things, which is great for some people. But for me and my soul, what I was craving, I wasn't getting what I was craving. I really wanted to sprint, to do like exciting things, to move my body in a really fast paced way. And so when we were at that river, and after I was done meditating, I was like really listening to my body, so in tune with what it was saying. And it was like, you want to sprint, like you want to have some fun, you want to go for it. So I literally just took off sprinting. The other girls at the river and I literally took off on that trail and just started sprinting. And when I tell you, I was literally like hurtling over tree logs and like dodging in between different trees and like full on obstacle course in the forest. And it felt so freeing to do what my soul really wanted to express, do what my soul really wanted to do. And I had stopped because I was out of breath and I had looked up. Okay, so super short backstory. Birds are my spirit animal. I feel such a strong connection to so many different kinds of birds, and hawks are one of the birds that I feel really connected to. And there were a few hawks that kept circling me and the girls at the sitting down at the river. And long story short, after I had paused from doing that whole obstacle course in the forest thing, hurtling over all these trees, dodging between things, I'm out of breath. I look up and I kid you not, there were at least 40 or at least 50 hawks that were above me, layers. The first layer of hawks were probably no more than 20 feet above my head. And it was just layers on layers on layers on layers of hawks. I have never seen that many birds in one location at a time. I was just oh my God, in pure awe. I was by myself. I felt pulled to just not record anything, to just be in the present moment and just to notice it and just to experience it. And so I'm just sitting here looking up in the sky at this insane amount of massive birds flying directly over me. And the message that I was getting when I see birds, like I said, birds are my spirit animals. When I see birds, I often hear intuitive messages with them. And the message that I was getting when I saw layers and layers and layers of these massive hawks was, you are incredibly protected and you are incredibly watched over. We are watching over you. And it was I just felt so loved in that moment. And it was honestly the most insane, magical thing. And I noticed that after I got back from that trip, I started to slowly slip back into my old ways of thinking. And it was just an automatic reaction that would come up of thinking, of attaching all of these meanings to things and being in my head again, of thinking, oh, I need to do this and then I got to get this done. And I started to be super in my head again. And I pulled myself back And I was like, hold on, like I need to integrate these lessons that I learned. And so since then, every single morning I review my notes that I took on that trip, I review the lessons, and I think about how I can start to really make sure I'm implementing these lessons into every aspect of my life, every area of my life, so I can live by this, so I can really be that more authentic expressional version of myself. And so what I really want you to take away from watching this video is notice the meanings that you are attaching to things and start fluffing them away. Start breaking away from the meanings you give things, because truly nothing has meanings. Allow yourself to get out of your head and into your body more often. It's so much more easier to do this when you're out in nature or when you're like dancing or doing something with your body, like Qigong, but really working on getting into the present moment. Know that you don't have to do a million things to live up to your potential, to live up to your purpose. You can literally just be, just exist. And that is what you are meant to do here. That is what life is all about. Just living, just existing, just being. Know that other people's judgments on you don't mean anything. They just are, they just exist. And you are just you just are. So let yourself just be and ask yourself, what is your soul craving? Which, by the way, these are really great things to journal on. But yeah, asking yourself, what is your soul craving? What do you feel called to do? What feels good to you? What do you enjoy doing? And then enjoy doing it. Make time for the things that you enjoy, because that is what living is all about. Experiencing, tapping into that present moment, enveloping all of your 5 senses into what you are doing right now. And that is truly living. If you reached to the end of this video, I wanted to thank you so much for watching until the end. I love you so much. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Feel free to comment below any value you may have gotten from this video. I would love to hear. Feel free to share this video with anyone you feel may want to hear it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.